The soft hum of the Wanderer was Elara's lullaby. It was the sound of a million tiny systems working in harmony, a gentle thrumming that vibrated through the floorboards of her cabin, through the very air she breathed. Outside her window, not a pane of glass but a shimmering energy shield that shifted colors with the ship's distant propulsion, the cosmos stretched, a velvet cloak embroidered with diamond dust. Elara lay curled in her bioluminescent sleep cocoon, its gentle glow casting a warm cyan light on her face. Her companion, a small spherical drone named Orb, floated silently by her head, its single optic lens dimmed to a soft amber. Orb was usually a whirlwind of helpful information and playful chirps, but at night, it understood the quiet reverence of sleep. She wasn't quite asleep yet. Her mind was a kaleidoscope of the day's lessons. The intricate biology of the hydroponic gardens, the dizzying mathematics of celestial navigation, which she didn't fully grasp yet but found fascinating. And the endless stories her mother, Kaylin, wove about the ancient Earth, a planet so far away it felt like a myth. But more than anything, Elara thought of the stars. Real stars, not just the simulated constellations projected onto the grand dome of Sector Alpha, but the ones that twinkled, truly twinkled, beyond the ship's protective hull. She knew the Wanderer was on a great journey, a quest that had begun generations before she was born, a search for a new home among the nebulae. Her great-great-grandmother had been a child on this very ship. Her mother often said, "We carry the stardust of our ancestors in our hearts, Elara, guiding us home." Stardust. The word itself felt ancient and magical. On the Wanderer, stardust wasn't just a metaphor. It was a tangible, precious material. Tiny, shimmering particles, captured from the tails of comets or the remnants of supernovae, stored in crystalline vials in the ship's most secure vaults. It glowed with a faint, internal light like captured wishes. Her mother, Kaylin, worked in the ship's core labs where the stardust was carefully studied and utilized. Kaylin said it was the purest form of concentrated light, capable of powering their most delicate instruments, and even in rare instances illuminating their path through the darkest voids. Elara imagined the stardust now, lying in its hidden vaults, humming with silent power. She wondered what it felt like to touch it. Her mother had shown her pictures, magnified to reveal intricate fractal patterns, each particle a miniature galaxy. A soft chime from Orb, barely audible, signaled it was time. Time for Kaylin to return from her shift. Elara pushed aside the sleep cocoon's shimmering fabric, her bare feet meeting the cool, recycled durasteel floor. Orb's lens brightened slightly, indicating it was now in low-power surveillance mode, ready to alert Kaylin to Elara's wakefulness. The door to her cabin slid open with a whisper. Kaylin stood there, her dark hair pulled back in a practical braid, a faint smudge of nutrient gel on her cheek from a rushed meal. But her eyes, the same deep brown as Elara's, were warm and tired, yet full of love. "Not asleep yet, little star." Kaylin's voice was a soft melody, a comforting counterpoint to the ship's hum. Elara shook her head, pushing herself off the bed. "I was thinking about Stardust, Mama. And the journey. Will we ever reach the new home?" Kaylin knelt, pulling Elara into a gentle hug. The scent of ozone and the faint, sweet smell of the ship's recycled air clung to her uniform. "We will, my love, one day. And Stardust will help guide us there." She pulled back, a thoughtful look on her face. "Come. Let's go to the observation deck tonight. I have something special to show you." Elara's eyes widened. The observation deck was her favorite place on the Wanderer. It was a vast multi-level chamber near the ship's bow, where the main viewport was not a screen or a shield, but a truly transparent, ultra-dense crystalline pane, miles thick, allowing a direct unmediated view of the void. It was usually reserved for senior crew or special events, but Kaylin, being a lead scientist, had special access. Clad in her favorite sleep tunic, adorned with glow-in-the-dark constellations, Elara followed her mother through the softly lit corridors. The Wanderer was a city in space, with different sectors dedicated to living quarters, hydroponics, recreation, and industry. They passed through familiar residential zones, where other families' cabins glowed softly, and then into less familiar passages, colder and more utilitarian, until they reached a secure access point. Kaylin scanned her palm and iris, and a heavy durasteel door hissed open, revealing a short, brightly lit tunnel, At the end of the tunnel, the universe exploded into view. Wow. The observation deck was breathtaking. It was vast and circular, with gentle inclines leading down to the colossal viewport. Other people were already there, a few scientists, some navigators, their faces illuminated by the distant starlight. Most were gathered in small groups, speaking in hushed, awed tones. The air itself felt different here, charged with a quiet reverence. Elara gasped. Tonight, the view was unlike anything she had ever seen. They were passing through a region of space she hadn't recognized from the daily projections. Instead of scattered stars, there was a swirling, incandescent cloud of gas and dust, painted in hues of lavender, emerald, and deep indigo. A nebula. "It's the Veil Nebula," Kaelin whispered, her voice full of wonder, even after seeing countless such marvels. "A supernova remnant, billions of years old. And look." She pointed a finger towards a particularly bright shimmering patch within the nebula. That's where we'll find it." Elara squinted, trying to make sense of the swirling colors. "Find what, Mama?" "Stardust, my love. Real, nascent stardust. The kind that forms from the death of stars." Kaelin's eyes gleamed with an almost childlike excitement. "Tonight, the core labs are initiating a stardust pulse. We're going to use the ship's energy collectors to draw in a microsample of the nebula's core elements. It's risky, but the potential rewards are immense." Elara felt a shiver of anticipation. She had heard of stardust pulses, rare events that happened only when the Wanderer passed through particularly rich cosmic regions. They were moments of collective awe and scientific endeavor, uniting the entire ship in a shared purpose. A deep resonating hum began to vibrate through the deck, a sound distinct from the Wanderer's usual thrum. It grew, filling the chamber, a low, powerful thrum that seemed to originate from the very heart of the ship. On the main viewport, the swirling colors of the nebula seemed to intensify, drawn closer, as if by an invisible hand. Then, a sudden blinding flash of light erupted from the center of the Wanderer's bow, just beyond the transparent viewport. It wasn't harsh, but brilliant, a pure white light that pulsed outwards, creating a ripple in the fabric of space itself. The light seemed to reach into the nebula, a long ethereal tendril. And for a moment, Elara felt as if the ship itself was breathing, inhaling the cosmic dust. A collective gasp swept through the observation deck. As the tendril of light retracted, something incredible happened. From within the shimmering core of the nebula, tiny, incandescent specks of light began to drift towards the Wanderer, like fireflies drawn to a beacon. They were impossibly small, yet each one glowed with an internal fire, miniature suns in the vast darkness. "They're coming," Kaelin breathed, her arm around Elara's shoulders, holding her close. "The stardust. The ship is collecting it." Elara watched, mesmerized. The specks drifted closer, some grazing the outer hull of the Wanderer, leaving trails of faint golden light that dissipated almost instantly. It was like watching a shower of wishes, each one a tiny miracle. On the observation deck, a series of holographic displays flickered to life, showing intricate diagrams of the ship's collection systems. Beams of focused energy guided the stardust particles into specialized collection arrays, designed to safely contain and transport the volatile material to the core labs. "Each particle is a fragment of a star," Kaelin explained, her voice hushed. "It holds the energy of creation, of destruction, of everything that was and will be. This is why we call it stardust. It's the essence of the universe, distilled." Elara felt a profound sense of awe, a feeling much larger than her small self. She was a tiny speck on a tiny ship, watching the immense, beautiful ballet of creation and capture. It was almost too much to take in. The stardust pulse continued for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only a few minutes. The ship's hum intensified, then slowly began to subside. The tendril of light faded, and the stream of stardust particles lessened, until only the distant, shimmering nebula remained. The light on the observation deck returned to its normal soft glow. The scientists and navigators began to murmur, their voices filled with excitement and relief. The mission had been a success. Kaelin squeezed Elara's hand. "Come, my little star. There's one more thing." She led Elara away from the main viewport towards a small quiet alcove on the upper level of the deck. Here, a single glowing crystal stood on a pedestal, encased in a transparent force field. It was not large, perhaps the size of Elara's fist, but it pulsed with a soft, steady rhythm, emanating the same pure, white light they had just seen. "This," Kaelin said, her voice dropping to a whisper, "is a Stardust core. It's a concentrated sample, cultivated over generations. It powers the ship's primary navigation system, guiding us through the uncharted cosmos." Elara gazed at the crystal, utterly captivated. It wasn't just beautiful. It felt alive, brimming with a quiet power. "My grandmother, your great-grandmother, she helped cultivate the first core," Kaelin continued, her eyes distant, lost in memory. "She believed that Stardust wasn't just fuel, but a connection to the universe, to our past, and to our future." Kaelin gently touched the invisible force field surrounding the crystal. "Each generation adds a little of the newly collected Stardust to this core, renewing its energy, strengthening our journey." Elara reached out a tentative finger, mimicking her mother's gesture. She could feel a faint warmth emanating from the force field, a resonance that seemed to echo in her own chest. "Mama," Elara asked, her voice barely a whisper, "what does it feel like to touch it? To touch real Stardust?" Kaelin smiled, a wistful, knowing smile. "It feels like hope, Elara. It feels like the promise of tomorrow twinkling in your palm." She paused, then looked directly into Elara's eyes, her gaze serious. "But it is also a great responsibility. The Stardust guides us, but it needs us to understand it, to protect it, to continue its legacy." Elara nodded slowly, a new understanding dawning in her young mind. Stardust wasn't just a pretty thing, or a power source. It was a lifeline, a shared heritage, a silent promise whispered across generations. As they walked back through the quiet corridors, the Wanderer's hum seemed more profound, more meaningful. Elara felt a deeper connection to her ship, to her mother, and to the vast star-strewn universe outside. Back in her cabin, Elara snuggled back into her sleep cocoon, orb resuming its silent vigil. But sleep didn't come easily now. Her mind was buzzing with the image of the Stardust core, its gentle pulse, and her mother's words. "Kit feels like hope. It feels like the promise of tomorrow." I know. She closed her eyes, and in the darkness behind her eyelids, she could still see the swirling colors of the Veil Nebula, the shimmering stream of Stardust, and the glowing heart of the Wanderer. She imagined her own hands, years from now, perhaps touching a Stardust core, feeling that same hope, that same promise. "Mama," she murmured, half asleep, "will I ever get to work with the Stardust like you?" Kaelin stroked her hair. "Perhaps, little star. Perhaps you will. The core labs are always looking for curious minds. But remember, the greatest Stardust is the one you carry within you, the spark of wonder that guides your own journey." Elara drifted into a dreamless sleep, but a new seed of curiosity had been planted deep within her. The Stardust core, the Veil Nebula, her ancestors' journey, they all intertwined into a single compelling question. What secrets did the Stardust truly hold? And what part would she play in uncovering them? The great journey of the Wanderer was far from over, and Elara sensed, deep in her heart, that her own journey with the Stardust was just beginning. Elara's slumber was deep and restorative, but the whispers of the Stardust core and the echoes of her ancestors' journey lingered, shimmering on the edges of her awakening mind. When the soft glow of her bioluminescent ceiling panel mimicked the dawn of a distant binary star system, she blinked, the weight of the universe settling lightly on her shoulders. Her room, a cozy sphere within the vast orbital habitat known as Athelberg Station, felt both familiar and suddenly small. Outside her viewport, the iridescent ribbon of the Veil Nebula, usually a comforting backdrop, now pulsed with untold secrets. She slipped from her sleep suspension hammock, her bare feet meeting the cool, self-warming floor. Her parents, Dr. Aris and Commander Lyra Vance, were already up, their morning routine, a symphony of soft hums and the clinking of nutrient paste dispensers in the adjacent common area. Aris, a xenobotanist, was usually engrossed in the holographic display of some newly discovered flora from a far-flung exoplanet, while Lyra, a starship commander, reviewed flight manifests and nebula projections. "Morning, little star," her mother, Lyra, greeted, her voice a warm melody as Elara entered the common space. Lyra's uniform, crisp and dark, bore the insignia of the interstellar fleet, a stylized comet streaking through a ring of stardust. Elara often traced the pattern with her finger, imagining the trails of her mother's ship through the cosmic ocean. "Morning, Mama." "Morning, Papa." Elara helped herself to a scoop of berry-flavored nutrient paste, her mind still replaying the elder's story. "Mama, Papa," she began hesitantly. "Do you know much about the great journey of the Wanderer? And the Stardust core?" Eris, pulling himself away from a particularly vibrant species of luminescent fungi, turned with a gentle smile. "Ah, the Wanderer," he mused, his eyes twinkling. "A legendary vessel, Elara. The flagship of the first settlers, those brave souls who ventured out from old Earth millennia ago, seeking new homes among the stars. They traversed the darkest voids and the brightest nebulae." "Why the sudden interest, little one?" Elara stirred her paste, a tiny whirlpool forming in the bowl. "Elder Maeve told me a story last night, about how they followed the Stardust, and how our ancestors were part of that journey. She said the Stardust core was their ultimate destination, a place where all the Stardust gathers." Lyra knelt beside her, her gaze steady and kind. "Maeve is a treasure, Elara. She holds so much of our people's history. The Wanderer's journey was indeed guided by Stardust, or so the legends say. They believed it was more than just cosmic debris. They saw it as a map, a memory, even a living presence. The Stardust core, as it's understood by most, is a massive ancient concentration of stellar dust, deep within the Veil Nebula. A kind of cosmic... But what secrets does it hold?" Elara pressed, her voice barely a whisper. "And how do we uncover them?" Iris chuckled softly. "Many have tried, Elara. The core is protected by powerful gravitational fields and dense energy pockets. Our sensors can only penetrate so far. It's beautiful, a swirling vortex of incandescent particles, but largely a mystery. Some believe it's a supermassive black hole in disguise. Others, a nascent star, and a few, like Maeve, believe it's something far more profound." He paused, looking at her intently. "Why, Elara, do you feel a pull towards it?" A jolt went through Elara. "Yes," she wanted to shout. "Kila pull. A connection I don't understand. But..." She merely nodded, a shy blush creeping up her cheeks. I want to know more. Where can I find out more about the Wanderer and the Stardust that guided them?" Lyra exchanged a look with Eris, a silent conversation passing between them. "There's the Great Archive," Lyra said, "on level 3. It contains all recorded history of our civilization. And perhaps you could speak with Archivist Kalen. He's spent his life studying ancient lore and cosmic phenomena. He might enjoy an eager young mind asking questions." Elara's heart fluttered with excitement. "Thank you, Mama, Papa." Later that day, after her daily lessons on astrogation and xenolinguistics, Elara made her way to the Great Archive. It was a vast domed chamber, its walls shimmering with holographic projections of star charts, ancient texts, and the faces of long-dead heroes. Rows of data crystals glowed softly, each containing millennia of human knowledge. The air hummed with a gentle, scholarly energy. Archivist Kalen was a man woven from starlight and quiet contemplation. His hair, streaked with silver, flowed around a face lined with deep thought and a permanent gentle smile. He wore robes woven with shimmering fibers that seemed to absorb and reflect the ambient light, making him appear almost ethereal. He was seated before a massive swirling projection of a distant galaxy, his fingers dancing across a transparent interface. "Excuse me, Archivist Kalen?" Elara ventured, feeling a little intimidated by the grandeur of the place and the man. Kalen turned, his eyes, the color of a deep nebula, sparkling with an ancient wisdom. "Ah, Elara Vance. I was expecting you. Maeve mentioned your burgeoning curiosity. Sit, child, sit." He gestured to a floating cushion beside him. "What cosmic riddle troubles your young mind today?" Elara took a deep breath. "I want to know about the Wanderer. And the Stardust core. Elder Maeve said they followed the Stardust, and that it holds secrets. Is that true? What kind of secrets? Kaelin's smile softened. Maeve speaks with the wisdom of generations. The official histories, compiled by the First Colonial Council, tell of a journey driven by necessity, a dying Earth, a search for new habitable worlds. But the unwritten histories, the whispers passed down through families like yours, tell a different tale. He paused, his gaze drifting back to the swirling galaxy. The Wanderer was indeed guided by Stardust, but not just any Stardust. They sought what they called memory dust, particles imbued with the echoes of time, carrying information from the dawn of creation itself. Elara leaned forward, captivated. Memory dust? What is it? Imagine, Kaelin explained, that every event, every thought, every ripple in the fabric of space-time leaves a tiny, imperceptible imprint on the very atoms around it. Stardust, being the most primordial and ubiquitous substance in the cosmos, acts as a cosmic canvas, collecting these imprints. The Wanderer scientists, your ancestors among them, developed highly advanced resonance weavers, devices that... So, the Stardust isn't just a map, Elara whispered. It's a library. Precisely, Kaelin affirmed. A living, breathing library of the universe. And the Stardust core, Elara, is believed to be the greatest concentration of memory dust in our sector, a nexus where countless streams of information converge. Some even theorize it's not merely a passive repository, but an active, conscious entity, a sort of cosmic mind. A sort of cosmic mind. Elara shivered, a thrill of wonder, and a touch of awe running through her. And did they find it? Did they read the memory dust? A shadow crossed Kaelin's face. They found the Veil Nebula, and they pinpointed the location of the core. They even established a research outpost on a small moon orbiting the core. But they encountered difficulties. The energy fluctuations were immense, the gravitational forces unpredictable. And their resonance weavers, powerful as they were, couldn't quite interface with the core's full complexity. They could only glimpse fragments, echoes. What kind of key? Kaelin turned to her, his eyes piercing. A biological key, Elara. A resonance within certain ancestral lines, individuals whose own cellular structure had, through generations of exposure and genetic adaptation to the stardust-rich environment of the Wanderer, developed a unique attunement. A living bridge between the cosmic library and human understanding. He reached into the folds of his shimmering robes and produced a small, smooth obsidian-like stone, no larger than her thumb. It seemed to absorb the light, yet glowed faintly from within with tiny, almost imperceptible silver flecks. This, Kaelin said, pressing it gently into her palm, is a Stardust resonance key. It was recovered from the Wanderer's final research outpost near the core. It's inert, dormant. No one has ever been able to activate it, but Maeve believes you might possess that unique attunement. Elara clutched the stone, its surface cool and smooth. She felt a faint thrumming, a deep, almost inaudible vibration that seemed to resonate within her very bones. It was a sensation she'd never experienced before, a quiet humming that echoed the beat of her own heart. She looked up at Kaelin, her eyes wide. Me? Yes, Elara. Your lineage traces directly back to one of the lead scientists on the Wanderer, a woman named Lyra Astravance. A distant ancestor of your mother, in fact. It is said she was among the first to theorize this biological key. Kaelin's gaze held a quiet intensity. This key is designed to react to specific stardust frequencies, especially those found within the Veil Nebula. It is not a weapon, nor a tool for power. It is a conduit, a translator. If you can activate it, it will guide you to where the memory dust is strongest, and perhaps begin to show you how to read it. Elara stared at the stone, then out at the holographic stars swirling around them. A seed of curiosity had been planted, and now it was blossoming into a full-blown quest. How do I activate it? That little star is a secret held within you, Kaelin replied, a knowing smile playing on his lips. It is not a button to press but a resonance to find. Perhaps you need to be in the presence of the dust itself. Go to the Stardust Garden on level 5. It's a sanctuary, a place where we cultivate samples of stardust from all across the galaxy. It is the purest concentration of stardust on Athelberg. With the resonance key clutched tightly in her hand, Elara spent the next few days in a state of buzzing anticipation. She continued her studies, but her mind drifted constantly to the core, the Wanderer, and the obsidian stone that seemed to pulse faintly in her pocket. Finally, after her last lesson, she made her way to level 5. The Stardust Garden was unlike any other place on Athelberg Station. It was a vast biodome, filled with ethereal beauty. Instead of plants, the garden consisted of shimmering columns of contained stardust, each glowing with a different hue: sapphire blues, emerald greens, ruby reds, and swirling golds. They pulsed with gentle light, some slowly drifting, others forming intricate, delicate patterns like cosmic snowflakes. The air hummed with a soft, almost musical vibration. Automated drones, delicate as dragonflies, drifted through the space, meticulously tending to the delicate particles, ensuring their containment and purity. Elara walked among the glowing columns, her senses overwhelmed by the sheer wonder. She saw samples from newly forming nebulae, ancient stellar nurseries, and even the remnants of supernovas that had exploded millennia ago. Each column had a small plaque, detailing its origin and elemental composition. But she wasn't looking for data. She was searching for a feeling. She found herself drawn to a particularly ancient-looking column, its stardust a deep, velvety violet, swirling slowly like a silent storm. The plaque identified it as primordial dust, remnant of the pre-galactic era. It was the oldest sample in the garden, believed to predate the formation of many galaxies. As she approached, the resonance key in her hand began to warm, a subtle heat spreading through her palm. The tiny silver flecks within the obsidian stone seemed to brighten, almost imperceptibly. Taking a deep breath, Elara extended her hand towards the column of violet dust. She didn't touch the containment field, but simply held the key close, letting her intuition guide her. As her hand drew nearer, the key began to vibrate more strongly, a gentle tremor that ran up her arm. And then, something extraordinary happened. The violet dust in the column before her seemed to react. It swirled faster, coalescing into intricate patterns, like microscopic galaxies forming and dissolving. The light from within intensified, and Elara felt a strange sensation, as if an invisible thread was connecting her to the dust, pulling gently at her consciousness. The hum in her hand grew louder, vibrating through her chest, resonating with a deep, forgotten chord within her. And then, a flash. Not of light, but of memory. A cascade of images, fleeting and dreamlike, yet impossibly vivid. She saw a vast, dark expanse, filled with countless stars. A shimmering, iridescent cloud, far larger than any she'd ever seen, the Veil Nebula, but different, younger, more vibrant. And then a glimpse of a ship, sleek and magnificent, unlike any modern vessel, its hull gleaming with the light of 1,000 distant suns. The Wanderer. She saw faces, human faces filled with a mixture of awe and determination, looking out at the cosmic tapestry. One face in particular stood out. A woman with dark, intelligent eyes and a streak of silver in her hair, looking remarkably like her own mother, but with an older, more ancient wisdom etched into her features. Lyra Astra Vance. The vision lasted only a fraction of a second, but it left Elara breathless, her heart pounding. The resonance key glowed brightly now, a soft, steady silver light emanating from its core. The violet dust in the column settled back into its slow, mesmerizing dance. Elara stared at the glowing key, then back at the dust. It wasn't just a vision, it was a deep feeling. A sense of connection, of shared purpose, stretching across millennia. The memory dust wasn't just a library. It was a living, breathing echo of the past waiting to be heard. She spent the rest of the afternoon in the Stardust Garden, moving from column to column, the now active resonance key humming softly in her hand. It didn't flash with full visions again, but with each new type of stardust, she felt a different resonance, a faint echo, a subtle shift in the key's light or vibration. She was learning to feel the dust, to distinguish its subtle frequencies. Some dust felt ancient and quiet, others vibrant and alive, like a bustling marketplace of cosmic information. She realized that the Stardust core wasn't just a destination, but a culmination. It was where all these different echoes converged, where the grand symphony of the universe played its loudest. And her ancestors, with their resonance weavers and their biological key theory, had been on the very cusp of understanding it. When she finally returned to her quarters, the sun panel glowing with a simulated sunset, she found her parents waiting for her. Lyra held a data slate, an uncharacteristic frown on her face. Iris looked concerned. "Elara," Lyra began, "we received an alert from the archive. Archivist Kalen reported unusual energy signatures emanating from the Stardust Garden this afternoon, specifically a localized resonance spike near the primordial dust column." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "He also mentioned giving you a Stardust resonance key. Is it true?" Elara's hand instinctively went to her pocket, where the key still pulsed with a soft, internal glow. She pulled it out, letting its silver light illuminate her palm. "Yes, Mama. Archivist Talon gave it to me. And it activated. I saw something. A ship, the Wanderer, and a woman who looked like you, but older. I think it was Lyra Astravance." Iris gasped softly. Lyra stared at the glowing key, her expression a mixture of awe and apprehension. "The biological key," she murmured, almost to herself. "It actually worked. What does this mean?" Elara asked, her voice barely steady. "What did they try to do with the core? And why couldn't they finish?" Lyra sat down beside her, pulling her into a gentle embrace. "It means, little star, that you might be the living bridge Kalen spoke of. It means the journey of the Wanderer is not just a legend, but a living quest waiting for someone to pick up its threads." She looked at Iris, a determined glint in her eyes. "The Wanderer's logs, the ones we could decipher, spoke of a final, perilous mission to activate a primary interface with the Stardust core itself. They believed it could unlock universal truths, perhaps even reveal the origin of life across the cosmos. But they never completed it. Their outpost went silent. The core remained locked away. The energy fluctuations were too great," Iris added, "and there were reports of strange interference, almost as if something was actively preventing their full access." He sighed. "The official stance is that the core is too dangerous, too unpredictable to approach. It's classified as a restricted zone, Elara." Elara looked from her mother to her father, then back at the glowing key in her hand. The thrill of discovery mingled with a growing sense of responsibility. The Stardust core, the ultimate library, was calling to her. Her ancestors had laid the path, and now, it seemed, she was meant to walk it. The Veil Nebula, shimmering outside her viewport, no longer just a beautiful backdrop, but a destination, a challenge, and a promise. The great journey of the Wanderer was indeed far from over, and Elara sensed, deep in her heart, that her own journey with the Stardust was just beginning, leading her to places she could only now begin to dream of. Elara felt the hum of the Wanderer shift, a subtle change in the ship's resonant frequency that spoke of readiness. It wasn't just the engine spooling up, it was an anticipation, a sentient sigh of purpose. "Ready, Elara?" The Wanderer's voice, a warm, resonant murmur directly in her mind, was tinged with an excitement that mirrored her own. "As I'll ever be," she replied, her own voice a little shaky, a tremor of awe mingling with the thrill. She settled into the pilot's chair, the bioluminescent controls molding to her touch. Her grandmother, Lyra, had spent decades maintaining these systems, a legacy of meticulous care that Elara now inherited. The viewport, normally a clear window to the stars, began to shimmer with a faint iridescent light as the Wanderer initiated its pre-jump sequence. The Wanderer didn't use conventional jump drives. It possessed a unique chronospatial displacement engine, a technology so ancient and complex it was more art than science. Instead of folding space, it seemed to dance through the fabric of reality, briefly existing in a dimension where distance was a fluid concept. Lyra had described it as slipping between the threads of the cosmic tapestry. A gentle pressure enveloped Elara as the ship disengaged its moorings from the small asteroid habitat that had been their home. The asteroid, a familiar, comforting lump of rock, receded quickly, dwindling into a pinprick of light against the velvet black. Then, with a soft, almost imperceptible whine thrumming, The stars outside Elara's viewport began to stretch, not into streaks of light, but into impossibly long, shimmering filaments, like silver rain falling endlessly. The black between them deepened into an indigo hue, then a profound violet, as if the very cosmos was holding its breath. This was the slipstream. A journey through the chronospatial dimension was not like light-speed travel. There was no sensation of speed, no crushing g-forces. Instead, it was a sensation of profound quiet, of being utterly alone in a vast, silent ocean of shimmering light. The stars, once distinct points, became part of a luminous river, flowing past the ship like liquid crystal. Elara felt a deep tranquility wash over her, a sense of belonging to something far larger than herself. "How long will this phase take?" she asked, her voice hushed. "Approximately 730 standard cycles until we reach the outer fringes of the Veil Nebula," the Wanderer replied. "Maintaining optimal slipstream integrity requires precise harmonic resonance. Any deviation could result in temporal displacement or spatial fragmentation." Elara swallowed. "No pressure then?" The Wanderer chuckled, a sound like distant chimes. "Indeed. Though with you at the core of my consciousness, Elara, our resonance is quite stable." This was the part that still amazed her, the symbiotic link. Lyra had explained that the Stardust core wasn't just a library, it was the very heart of the Wanderer, and its connection to a living pilot was what allowed the ship to achieve its full potential. Elara was not just a passenger, she was an integral part of its functioning, a conduit for its ancient wisdom. Days bled into weeks within the slipstream. Time, in that strange dimension, felt fluid, elastic. Elara spent her hours learning the intricacies of the Wanderer's systems, poring over ancient star charts projected directly into her mind by the ship, and meditating on the growing connection she felt with the Stardust core. She felt its presence like a gentle warmth in her chest, a constant, subtle whisper of knowledge and memory. Sometimes, fragments of what felt like her ancestors' journeys would flicker through her mind. Fleeting images of other nebulae, other worlds, other challenges. She learned about the etheric weave, the energy matrix that sustained the Stardust core, and by extension, the Wanderer. It was a cosmic tapestry of dark energy and exotic matter, manipulated by ancient technology to store and transmit information across vast distances. The Stardust core wasn't just a physical library, it was a node in an intergalactic network, a repository of consciousness and data stretching back to the dawn of stellar formation. "Elara," the Wanderer announced suddenly, its voice tinged with a new note of anticipation. "Exit sequence initiated. Prepare for re-entry into standard spacetime." The shimmering filaments outside the viewport began to contract, gathering back into distinct points of light. The profound violet hue outside shifted, lightening into indigo, then a deep, familiar black. The gentle pressure eased, and Elara felt a subtle lurch as the Wanderer seemed to settle back into normal reality. And then, she saw it. The Veil Nebula. It wasn't just a nebula. It was a masterpiece. Spanning hundreds of light years, it unfurled before them like a celestial banner, an impossibly delicate curtain of glowing gas and dust. Blues so deep they bordered on black bled into vibrant emeralds, which in turn dissolved into fiery reds and golds at its heart. Tendrils of luminous plasma snaked through the void, punctuated by the birth pangs of new stars, tiny pinpricks of pure diamond light. It was a cosmic canvas, painted with the very essence of creation and destruction. "It's breathtaking," Elara whispered, tears pricking her eyes. The holographic map she'd studied didn't do it justice. Nothing could. The Veil Nebula, also known as NGC 6960, is a supernova remnant, the Wanderer explained, its voice laced with reverence. The explosion of a massive star approximately 10,000 to 20,000 years ago sculpted this magnificent structure. Within its chaotic beauty lies a unique energetic signature, one that our ancestors meticulously charted. The Stardust core has resonated with this region for millennia. Navigating the nebula was a different challenge entirely. The slipstream was too volatile for such a dense energetic environment. The Wanderer shifted to its sublight propulsion, the twin antimatter drives glowing with a steady, powerful thrum. Elara piloted, guided by the Wanderer's internal navigation, weaving through vast clouds of ionized gas, and dodging nascent star clusters. The nebular environment was alive, constantly shifting, flaring with radiation bursts, and punctuated by gravitational anomalies. The Wanderer projected a detailed multi-layered map directly onto her viewport, highlighting safe passages and potential hazards. Gravitational shears detected 0.05 parsecs starboard, it would advise, and Elara would adjust, feeling the subtle tug and push of unseen forces. The ship, with its ancient adaptable hull, felt like an extension of her own body, responding to her every thought, every twitch of her fingers on the controls. As they delved deeper into the nebula, the light intensified. The blues and greens gave way to richer, warmer hues, oranges, yellows, and a pulsating crimson that seemed to beat with the nebula's very heart. Here, the nascent stars burned brighter, their stellar winds carving intricate patterns into the surrounding gas. "We are approaching the eye of the veil," the Wanderer announced. "A region of exceptionally high energy density and concentrated stellar nurseries. Our destination lies within." Elara leaned closer to the viewport, her breath catching. Ahead, nestled within a swirling vortex of golden and crimson gas, was a peculiar phenomenon. It wasn't a star, nor a black hole, but a perfect sphere of pure, unadulterated light. It pulsed gently, like a colossal heart, casting ripples of iridescent energy across the nebula. Around it, like silent sentinels, orbited a cluster of perfectly spherical dark metallic structures, ancient and weathered, yet radiating an undeniable power. What is that?" Elara breathed, her voice barely a whisper. "That, Elara, is the lumen core," the Wanderer replied. "The central node of the Stardust core's physical manifestation in this region. The orbiting structures are the archival spheres, repositories of specialized data and processing units. They have been here since before recorded history, tended by generations of your ancestors." The lumen core wasn't just shining. It was exinging. Elara could feel the vibrations deep in her bones, a silent harmonic hum that resonated with the Stardust core within the Wanderer. It was a melody of pure energy, of knowledge, of existence itself. "We need to approach with caution," the Wanderer warned. The lumen core emits a unique form of energy signature. While harmless to the attuned, it can disrupt standard ship systems. Prepare for manual docking procedure with Archival Sphere Prime. Guiding the Wanderer towards the largest of the dark spheres was a delicate dance. The ship's internal sensors flickered as they entered the lumen core's field, but the Stardust core within the Wanderer seemed to bolster its systems, creating a protective resonance. The Archival Sphere Prime was enormous, easily the size of a small moon, its surface etched with intricate glowing patterns that pulsed in sync with the lumen core. It was clearly artificial, but so ancient it seemed to have become a natural part of the nebula itself. As they drew near, a section of the sphere's surface began to glow, then slowly, silently, retracted inward, revealing a vast cavernous docking bay bathed in a soft ethereal light. Elara guided the Wanderer inside, the ship's powerful thrusters maneuvering it with practiced ease. The bay was immense, easily accommodating a dozen ships of the Wanderer's size. But it was empty, save for dust motes dancing in the light and the faint echo of ancient whispers. Once docked, the Wanderer sealed its airlock. "Welcome, Elara," it chimed, "to the heart of your heritage." Elara unstrapped herself, her legs feeling strangely heavy. She pulled on her specialized environmental suit, not for atmosphere, but for protection against any unseen energy fluctuations. The airlock hissed open, revealing a short ramp leading into the archival sphere. The interior was not what she expected. It wasn't cold, sterile metal. Instead, it was organic, almost biological. The walls seemed to breathe, glowing with a gentle inner luminescence. Intricate crystalline structures grew from the floor and ceiling, reaching towards each other like frozen, luminous vines. The air was warm, carrying a faint, sweet scent she couldn't quite place, like ozone and distant flowers. "This is alive," Elara whispered, running a hand over a shimmering wall. "The archival spheres are bio-integrated constructs," the Wanderer explained. "They grow, adapt, and process information using a unique form of living data crystal technology. Our ancestors discovered and enhanced them." A path of glowing glyphs materialized on the floor ahead, guiding her deeper into the sphere. She walked for what felt like miles, through grand crystalline halls, past chambers where holographic projections of swirling galaxies and complex mathematical equations flickered silently. It was a temple of knowledge, a cathedral of cosmic understanding. Finally, the path led her to a vast, central chamber. In its heart, suspended within a shimmering field of light, was an object that defied description. It was a constantly shifting vortex of stardust, not the inert dust of space, but energetic luminous particles, swirling and coalescing into ephemeral forms, faces, symbols, entire star systems, then dissolving back into the swirling chaos. This was the Stardust core itself, in its fully manifested glory. It hummed with a profound energy, a symphony of forgotten voices and untold stories. Elara felt it call to her, not with words, but with a deep, resonating chord in her very soul. She stepped forward, drawn by an irresistible force. As she neared, the swirling stardust seemed to coalesce, forming a path directly towards her. Before her, the dust began to spin faster, forming a shimmering translucent figure. It was humanoid in shape, tall and slender, composed entirely of sparkling stardust, its eyes glowing with an ancient gentle light. It raised a hand, and Elara felt a connection deepen, a direct link established between her mind and the core. "Welcome, Elara of Lyra. Welcome, Wanderer." The voice was not auditory, but a direct thought form, incredibly clear and profound, echoing with the wisdom of millennia. "They have awaited your arrival. Antimawen. Anademosti. Amay. And new and beyond the circle." Elara knelt, overwhelmed by the sheer presence. Who are you?" "We are the collective consciousness of the Stardust core. We are the sum of all knowledge, all memory, all experience gathered since the dawn of our existence. We are the record keepers, the guardians of the cosmic etheric weave." "William Alve. My grandmother, Lyra. She spoke of you. Of the great journey." Lyra was a true wanderer, as were those before her. Each generation, a new custodian is chosen, a new anchor for our essence. You are the latest, Elara. Your connection is strong, forged by generations of dedication. The Stardust figure gestured to the swirling vortex. The Stardust core is not merely a library of facts. It is a living entity, its purpose to observe, to learn, to preserve, and to connect the disparate threads of existence across the cosmos. But its ultimate goal is to foster growth, to inspire new understanding, and to protect the fragile balance of life and knowledge. "Protect?" Elara asked, a flicker of unease crossing her mind. "From what?" The Stardust figure's shimmering form seemed to ripple, a subtle darkening within its luminous eyes. "The cosmos is vast, Elara, filled with both wonder and shadow. There are forces that seek to unravel the etheric weave, to consume knowledge, to extinguish the light of civilizations. Our purpose is to stand as a beacon, to offer guidance, and when necessary, to rally the forces of preservation." "Oh, and are these forces a threat now?" "They are always a threat in some form. But there is a particular shadow stretching across the galaxy, a growing dissonance in the etheric weave. A pattern of silence. Worlds that once hummed with life and information are now quiet. The anomaly originates from the galactic core, a region we call the Void Anomaly. It is disrupting the flow of knowledge, corrupting data, and silencing civilizations. Your grandmother detected its early whispers, and dedicated her final years to preparing you for this challenge." "Well, Wenska." Elara felt a cold dread settle in her stomach. This wasn't just about inheriting a ship and a library. It was about inheriting a war. A cosmic struggle she hadn't even known existed. "What can I do?" "You are the Wanderer, Elara. You possess the unique ability to navigate the etheric weave, to perceive its patterns and to mend its ruptures. The Stardust core will guide you, providing the wisdom and tools necessary. Your first task is to understand the nature of this void anomaly. We have preserved fragments of data, ancient warnings, encoded within the archival spheres. You must access them, piece together the puzzle. The Stardust figure's form began to dissipate, its light dimming slightly. The path ahead is fraught with peril, but also with discovery. You are not alone, Elara. The Wanderer is your steadfast companion, and the ancestors watch over you. Your journey has only just truly begun. No, I'll show you. As the figure dissolved back into the swirling core, Elara felt a surge of energy. A download of information directly into her mind. It was overwhelming. A torrent of ancient languages, forgotten sciences, and star charts of systems long past. She clutched her head, trying to process it all. Elara, are you well? The Wanderer's voice, full of concern, echoed in the chamber. I think so, she managed, slowly rising. Her mind buzzed, but beneath the initial confusion, a new sense of clarity began to emerge. The data wasn't just raw information. It was organized, intuitive, as if the Stardust core had already begun to integrate it into her own understanding. She suddenly felt an instinctive grasp of celestial mechanics, of quantum entanglement, of the very fabric of reality. Her eyes fell upon a section of the chamber wall that had previously seemed inert. Now, however, intricate glyphs glowed with a soft, inviting light. They seemed to pulse, beckoning her forward. She realized it was a console, designed to interact directly with the archival spheres, activated by her newly awakened connection to the Stardust core. This was it. The first step. Not just to read, but to understand. Not just to learn, but to walk. The Veil Nebula, so beautiful and serene from afar, had revealed its true purpose. A nexus of ancient knowledge, a sanctuary, and now, a staging ground for a mission that stretched across the stars. The whisper of the Stardust core was no longer a distant call, but a direct command, echoing deep within her spirit. The vastness of the cosmos, once merely a backdrop, now felt like a living entity, its fate, in some small but significant way, resting on her shoulders. Her own journey, indeed, had just found its true north, and the silence from the galactic core, the void anomaly, was a growing shadow she would have to face. Her journey with the Stardust had truly begun. Her journey with the Stardust had truly begun. The Lumina, her ship, a sleek vessel forged for interstellar drift and deep space observation, thrummed with a new, vibrant energy. The Stardust core, no longer a mere artifact, had woven itself into the very fabric of the ship, merging with its quantum drive and sentient navigation systems. Elara felt its presence like a second heart, beating in synchronicity with her own. Its whispers, initially faint and cryptic, coalesced into a guiding current, a cosmic stream pulling her towards the galactic core, towards the chilling quiet of the void anomaly. She spent weeks, then months, immersed in preparation. The core demanded a communion, not just a connection. She meditated in the Lumina's shimmering biodome, her mind reaching out, integrating with the core's ancient memories. She saw flashes of primordial stars, the birth of galaxies, the slow, patient unfolding of cosmic consciousness. The core wasn't just energy, it was distilled starlight, woven with the echoes of every song ever sung, every thought ever thought across countless millennia. It held the universe's collective memory, and it was sharing it with her, preparing her for what lay ahead. The silence is not an absence of sound, the core's voice, now clearer, resonated in her mind, but an absence of harmony. The great hum has faded. Elara understood. The great hum was the fundamental frequency of the cosmos, the subtle vibration that bound all things, from the smallest particle to the grandest nebula. It was the background symphony of existence, and it had gone quiet at the core. Her first jump wasn't a jump at all. It was a drifty, a conscious unmooring from conventional spacetime. The Lumina seemed to dissolve into shimmering stardust itself, guided by the core along unseen pathways of cosmic resonance. They bypassed warp gates and hyperspace lanes, instead flowing through currents of dark energy and nebular breath. Each moment was a kaleidoscope of wonder, nebulae blooming like luminous flowers, gravity wells bending light into impossible spirals, nascent star systems twinkling with the promise of life. Yet, beneath the beauty, A subtle unease permeated the cosmos. She noticed it first in the deep space stations she occasionally passed, flickering like dying embers. Their usual vibrant chatter was subdued, their energy signatures weak. People moved with a quiet resignation, their eyes lacking the characteristic spark of curiosity and hope that defined sentient life. The great hum's fading had cast a pall over the galaxy. One such station, a sprawling crystalline edifice called Echo's Rest, pulsed faintly in her proximity sensors. The core urged her to pause. Elara ducked, the lumina settling gently into a vacant berth. The station was almost deserted. The few beings she encountered, a solitary Solarian with multifaceted eyes, a stoic Cathar whose chitinous plates usually vibrated with restless energy, moved like shadows. "The song is gone," the Solarian whispered, its voice a dry rustle. "We can no longer hear the stars sing to each other. Our artists, they struggle. Our dreamers, they sleep no more, nor do they dream." Elara felt a pang of profound sadness. The core resonated, a sympathetic hum. This wasn't a physical plague. It was a spiritual one, a slow erosion of meaning and connection. The silence of the void anomaly was spreading, not as a destructive force, but as an insidious emptiness, leaching the vibrant energy from existence itself. "I'm going to the core," Elara told the Exilarian, her voice firm. "To find out why." The Exilarian's faceted eyes widened fractionally. "Many have tried. None have returned. The silence consumes them." "Not me," Elara said, touching the small silver locket containing a fragment of the Stardust core that rested against her skin. "I carry the memory of the song." Her journey continued, deeper into the galactic heart. The stars grew denser, coalescing into a brilliant river of light, but the sense of quiet despair grew with every light year. She encountered more systems in various states of decline. One planet, once a renowned center for galactic diplomacy, now lay desolate, its magnificent data spires dark, its inhabitants having simply ceased to interact, their minds adrift in a disconnected void. The core's whispers became more insistent, directing her not only to the void anomaly but also to ancient waypoints, forgotten cosmic lighthouses that had once guided the flow of the great hum. At one such waypoint, nestled within a nebula of shimmering dust, she found them, the sentinels of the deep. They were not corporeal beings, but vast, shimmering patterns of pure energy, coalescing and dispersing within the nebular gas. They had witnessed the birth and death of suns, and had been guardians of the great hum since time immemorial. "You carry the spark," one sentinel pulsed, its voice a symphony of light and shadow in Elara's mind. "The memory of the prime chord." "The core tells me the great hum has faded," Elara replied, awed by their presence. "Why? What is the void anomaly?" "The anomaly is not a void child of starlight," another sentinel resonated. "It is the heart of the song, and it has fallen into a deep, deep slumber. Too much noise, too much discord, too much interference. The heart became overwhelmed, and chose silence, to protect itself from shattering." Elara frowned. "So, it wasn't destroyed. It simply retreated?" "Indeed. The core remembers the prime chord, the fundamental note of the great hum. It is the key to reawakening the heart. But it cannot be forced. It must be sung with the purest intention, with a resonance that transcends discord." "And I am to sing it?" Elara asked, a tremor of apprehension running through her. How could one small human sing a song that would reawaken the cosmic heart? "You are the conduit," the sentinels pulsed in unison. "The core is the memory. Your spirit is the voice. The heart will listen to the echo of itself within you." The weight of her task settled upon Elara with renewed intensity. Doubt, a tiny insidious seed, began to sprout in her mind. What if she failed? What if her voice wasn't pure enough, her spirit not strong enough? The fate of the galaxy, the very hum of existence, rested on her. She thought of the silent stations, the listless beings, the fading colors of the cosmos. Could she truly be the one? She retreated to the luminous biodome, staring out at the swirling colors of the nebula, a million distant suns. A memory surfaced from her childhood. Her grandmother, her fingers gnarled with age, teaching her to play the ancient stringed instrument, the lyra. Every note, her grandmother had said, is a breath. Every song, a story. And the most beautiful stories are told not just with skill, but with heart. Elara closed her eyes, the core's gentle hum resonating within her. It wasn't about power or skill, or even knowledge. It was about Ikharti. It was about the pure, unadulterated wonder she felt for the cosmos, the love for the vibrant life it contained, the grief for its fading song. That was her truth. That was her voice. With renewed resolve, she plotted her course directly for the galactic core. The Lumina, now an extension of her will, surged forward, riding the Stardust currents faster than ever before. As they drew closer, the change was palpable. The light of the core, usually a blinding maelstrom of stars, began to dim, not through physical obstruction, but as if its very essence was being muted. The vibrant reds, blues, and golds bled into muted grays and purples. The familiar cosmic background radiation, the gentle hiss of creation, faded. It was like approaching a vast, silent cathedral, its grandeur intact, but its life force utterly absent. The void anomaly was not a black hole, nor a swirling vortex. It was an enormous, perfectly spherical region of absolute, profound, awed stillness. No light entered or escaped. No matter coalesced. No energy rippled. It was an absence of everything that defined existence. Yet it wasn't empty. It was full of a terrifying, serene quiet. The quiet of a dreamless sleep. The Lumina slowed, hovering at the edge of the anomaly. Even the ship's internal hum seemed to dim, respectful of the pervasive silence. Elara felt a profound chill, not of cold, but of utter isolation. It was the feeling of being truly alone, in a silent, indifferent universe. The core's whisper intensified, now a clear directive. Go deeper. To the heart of the silence. Listen. She extended the Lumina's shields, augmenting them with a layer of pure Stardust core energy, and piloted the ship into the anomaly. The transition was seamless, like slipping through an invisible membrane. Inside, there was no up or down, no forward or back. Only an infinite featureless expanse of velvety black. The stars were gone. The galaxy was gone. There was only the Lumina, Elara, and the oppressive, all-encompassing silence. Fear, cold and sharp, pierced through her. This was beyond anything she had imagined. But the core pulsed, steady and warm, within her. It was a beacon in the infinite night. "Where now?" she whispered, her voice feeling impossibly loud in the void. The core projected an image directly into her mind. A spiraling pattern of light. A complex geometric design that seemed to hum with latent energy. It was a frequency. A signature. The prime chord. And it was showing her a pathway, not through space, but through the very fabric of the silence itself. Elara engaged the Lumina's Stardust core drive, not for propulsion, but for resonance. The ship began to vibrate. A low, gentle thrum, matching the frequency the core projected. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, the blackness around them began to shift. Faint, ethereal lines of light, like spiderwebs spun from starlight, appeared, forming a vast, intricate tunnel. They traveled deeper, the silence pressing in, threatening to overwhelm her senses, to extinguish her very thoughts. But she held onto the core's warmth, onto the memory of the great hum, onto the love for the universe that had brought her here. Finally, the tunnel opened into a chamber of unimaginable scale. At its center, a colossal, crystalline structure pulsed with a faint, almost imperceptible light. It was the heart of the song. It didn't look like an organ, but like a cosmic instrument, intricate beyond comprehension, its myriad facets waiting to resonate. But it was still. Utterly, profoundly still. Elara guided the Lumina to its closest approach, then powered down all systems except for the life support and the Stardust core. She unclipped her safety harness and floated towards the observation deck, her heart thumping against her ribs. "What do I do?" she asked the core, her voice barely a whisper. "Sing," it responded, its resonance filling her with courage. "Listen, Torchi. And then, sing the memory. Sing the wonder. Sing the love." And down. Elara pressed her hand against the cool, transparent viewport, her gaze fixed on the dormant heart. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She didn't know what song to sing, or how. But then, she remembered her grandmother, the lyra, the stories told with heart. She thought of the vibrant nebulae, the playful dance of binary stars, the intricate beauty of life on 1,000 worlds. She thought of the Ixalarian's sadness, the Cathar's lost vigor. She thought of her own longing for the stars, her quiet joy in their distant twinkle. She gathered all these feelings, wonder, sorrow, hope, love, into her being. And then, she began to hum. It was a simple, unadorned note at first, a child's lullaby, a melody her grandmother used to sing. It was not a cosmic chord, but a deeply human one, imbued with all the raw emotion of her journey. The core within her responded, amplifying her humble sound, weaving it with the prime chord, the ancient memory it held. Her hum deepened, resonated. It wasn't her voice alone, but her spirit, her very essence, channeled through the core, singing to the heart. She poured her entire being into that single, sustained note, a testament to life, to connection, to the inherent beauty of existence. Slowly, impossibly, the colossal crystal heart before her began to respond. A faint tremor passed through its structure. Then, a single facet, then another, pulsed with a soft inner glow. The silence, which had seemed absolute, now had a new texture, a subtle vibration within it. Elara continued to sing, her voice growing stronger, more confident, as the core guided her, showing her the patterns, the harmonies, the forgotten rhythms. The prime chord, amplified by her human heart, began to bloom. The individual facets of the heart started to chime, like an immense celestial music box slowly coming to life. The hum intensified, spreading outwards from the heart, filling the vast chamber. It was not a loud sound, but a pervasive, comforting resonance, like the gentle thrum of a sleeping giant awakening. The velvet blackness of the anomaly began to recede, replaced by faint, shimmering patterns of light, echoes of distant stars filtering through. Elara felt the connection snap back into place. Not just with the heart but with the entire galaxy. She felt the subtle shift in the stations she had passed, the faint stirrings of hope, the nascent sparks of creativity returning to the beings she had met. The great hum was returning, not with a sudden burst, but with a gentle, patient reawakening. She sang until her throat was hoarse, until tears streamed down her face, tears of exhaustion and profound relief. Finally the core pulsed, signaling completion. The heart of the song was awake. It was humming, not yet at full strength, but alive, resonant, ready to slowly weave its melody back into the cosmic fabric. Elara, utterly spent, leaned against the viewport, watching the vast crystal heart pulse with a steady, magnificent light. The silence was gone. In its place was a gentle, pervasive hum, the promise of a revitalized galaxy. The lumina, guided by the still resonant core, drifted slowly out of the anomaly. As they emerged, the true colors of the galaxy seemed brighter, the stars twinkling with renewed vigor. The cosmic background radiation, once muted, now sang a soft, familiar tune. Elara didn't rush back. She allowed the lumina to drift, savoring the gentle resurgence of the great hum. She knew the galaxy wouldn't instantly return to its former glory. It would be a slow, patient healing, a gradual rediscovery of its song. But the spark had been reignited. She returned to her small quiet sector, a changed woman. She no longer sought grand adventures or distant wonders. The greatest wonder had been found within, in the connection between a human heart and the ancient wisdom of the Stardust core. The Stardust core remained with her, a silent, comforting presence, a permanent part of the lumina, and of Elara herself. She knew now that the cosmic song was not just an external phenomenon, but something that resided within every living being, waiting to be listened to, waiting to be sung. Sometimes, when the stars shone brightest in the velvet night sky, Elara would sit in her biodome, a small, knowing smile on her lips. She would hum a soft, simple melody, a lullaby of starlight and wonder. And in the quiet moments, she could almost hear the entire galaxy humming along, a great, gentle symphony, eternally connected, eternally alive. And as the last star twinkled, and the soft hum of the cosmos lulled the universe to sleep, Elara knew that the most profound journeys were not always about discovery, but about remembering the song that was always there, waiting to be sung anew.